All systems go. Clear for takeoff.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back this week on our station. Going to be talking some more Showdown, DraftKings, FanDuel. We'll get to at the end, but this one we got Buffalo, New York Jets, finalizing week one. We had a big week one yesterday over here at SHIPITNation.com. Before I bring my guys in, want to remind you guys up front, last day. So I know a lot of you, this will be the last show you catch of ours beforehand, but we said after lock tonight, when things shut down, we've had this out for a month. Now, today is an exact month. We put this up. 321 is the blast off bundle. It gets you to around $53 a month. Why is that important? Because the $59 monthly, it's also the last chance to get in on that, goes to $69. Hoop, myself, Title, the rest of our team, all of us, we said this from the start, but we're going to keep the pricing where it was at. We haven't changed our price once since week one when there was a one-time only launch price. It stayed at $59. We've launched MMA. We've launched Best Ball, DFS education, which, by the way, when you sign up for any package right now, you still get this course for free. It's a 4-hour NFL DFS process course. Hoop, myself, recorded it. It's about 4 hours broken down, but it's about the process, roster construction, live finals and qualifiers, Showdown, which we're about to talk about, questions, answers from all the members, etc. But if you guys go over there now, get set up with this. It's your last chance to do so before we get to the regular pricing, $69 a month. So that $53 on the bundle locks in, doesn't go up. The $59 locks in. It's not a one-time price or a coupon or anything like that. So check it out if you want. SHIPITNation.com. Hoop, gonna bring you in first, man. All three of us are back like always. The crew. What's your thoughts on week one so far, and then this game here tonight we've got at hand?
So far, so good. I mean, the momentum continues to build in the community. Kind of, retweeted the tweet that came out from the Ship It Nation account with the winners. The first Thursday Showdown game. We had the live FanDuel live final winner, member Ship It Nation, and then a lot of big wins yesterday. A lot of our content, we talked about it on the show, and then it was in our content as well, that Dolphins and Chargers game. And I know, Title can talk about it in a minute, but he had a really big day, featured that game. FanDuel, I had a team that, so close in the 3K. Had Herbert, had Tyreek Hill, had Austin Eckler. I mean, it was close and it was making a move. I just needed that game to continue on a little bit longer, and we would have moved up, but that didn't happen. But big wins. And, wanted to talk about my guy, Nevs, who took down $280,000 yesterday. $280,000. Put out his tweet, thanking us for the content and everything. Big time winner. I mean, this isn't his first time around these big time wins. He's done it before. He's made a ton of money in this industry. Big supporter of Ship It Nation, and he took down $280,000 yesterday. So congratulations to him. We had Miller 813 King of the Beach seat. Good to see that right out of the gate. Big Daddy Kane $10,000 win, $10,000 plus. And then Title, like we said, big wins across the industry on basically every single site yesterday. I know all Title's content yesterday featured Tyreek Hill, cash, tournament stuff, and that was the key to making money yesterday. Tyreek Hill, so get the job. So yeah, momentum starting to build. The support is just massive. Again, I always say it, but very thankful for all the support we've had so far. We're only a few months in, so things are still building, but the momentum is real over here at Ship It Nation. The wins are starting to follow, and they're only going to continue to get bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Yeah, pay less for content, play more contests. That's the one we've adopted now. So where I was going to have those one-liners, but a lot of folks in the Discord as well. Our site is for all bankrolls, all skill levels, whatever it may be. And a lot of people made a lot of money turning $30 into $300 or $150 into $600. These are still huge wins to kick your season off. That keeps you in the game for a bunch more contests until you get that spike win. Title, I know you had some good scores yesterday. You hold yourself to a higher level. You want the full all the way shippers, and you're going to get them soon, but still a big day for you, my friend. Almost took down the slant on DraftKings, which is one of the best tournaments out there. Love that one, a more balanced structure and all that. How you doing, my friend? And then talk about your week one and what you're thinking about for this game tonight, because a former Green Bay Packer. We got Aaron Rodgers in this game tonight, but talk to us, man. What's going on?
Rodgers. I almost threw on the jersey. I couldn't make it 3 in a row, though. Got the Packer Rodgers jersey. Couldn't throw it on today. I'll be cheering for him, no doubt about that. But, yeah, it was a great week 1. Free Money Sunday lived up to the name. Kind of a bit now. I've been doing it for years and years, saying that phrase, throwing it around. But no such thing as free money, of course, for the people out there. But it was a great week. The main takeaway I took out was I was more confident than I should have been in certain roles for players. And the main one that sticks out was Cam Akers and Kyron Williams. There was no realm of possibility. I thought Kyron Williams was going to be the starting running back week 1 over Cam Akers. I got lucky a little bit in FanDuel Cash with Akers, but so just like today, we're going to be talking about wide receiver 3 on Buffalo. We're going to be talking about the running back room in New York. Like, there's unknowns still week 1. We talked about it on Sunday's show. There is still guesswork to be had. But, yeah, it was a great week for sure. A lot of great success at SHIPIT Nation. Congrats to those that got to the winner's circle. Of course, you always want to get to the top, but give yourself a chance. You got to get lucky to get first and all that. A lot of the money up top. We'll get there one of these days. But, yeah, I needed Mac Jones. I had a Tua, Tyreek stack in one of the spots, and then I had Mac Jones, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne. I needed, I think it was Bootsy to get a second foot down on that last drive, and was hoping for a Mac Jones touchdown. But was a great week for members, for myself, and huge prize pools, $1 million to first again today. So excited to talk some Showdown.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. It's going to be awesome. We'll break it all down for you guys. But before we do, just want to say what's up to some people. Alex, my guy, always out there. Sean, what's happening? We got our guys Nades and Hebrew in the chat. Chris Carter said, yeah, this is a key point, man. What's up? He says, Dallas defense last night, and now people are going to go to those captain Ds. Probably more than they should. It won't be crazy, I don't think. But, yes, people definitely overreact. Got to give Parabay a shout-out. Said 10 times smash the like. You are 25% of our likes then. So, guys, do us a favor. That's a good time to hop in and know.
Is that G Risen's burner account there?
Really, though,
smashing
with
the Modelos?
Yeah. He's a SHIPIT guy. But one note on that, not only smash the like, but make sure to subscribe, because we are now just 129, I believe, subscribers from 3,000. And when we get there, we're going to be giving away a 6-month bundle. So do with that what you will, but to subscribe to the channel. Some more guys out there. We appreciate all you guys tuning in. See you guys there. Newen said he got 4th. He won something else yesterday. You want to get there to meet me? Well, I'm not in yet. So we got to hope that turns around quick. There's only 8 weeks this year to qualify. They're doing it earlier because they did build in for King of the Desert, which is happening later on that year. Of course, they still have the Fantasy Football World Championship. So lots of good tournaments. But Hoop, going to go to you on this game, man. We got to get into this. As always, reminder, this show is sponsored by Run the Sims. You guys want to throw some scores actually in the live chat that you want me to sim out later on and talk about, do that, and I'll come back to the chat and check it out. But Hoop, the big thing, got in trouble in our Discord yesterday, by the way. We got to talk about weather, they said. I obviously liked the Cleveland-Cincy game. We did talk about it. Our guy Andrew was in the chat and said it didn't look as bad as what we would thought, but I was going to stick with it no matter what. I like the pricing. I like that game. It did not go how we wanted. Cleveland ended up getting to 24 points pretty much all in the second half. Cincy did not come along for the ride, so that was hurtful. But let's talk about this one, Hoop, real quick. The weather talks about heavy rain, storms, possibility to be sloppy. Any thoughts with you on the weather for this game?
Well, I mean, it's different than a full slate. I mean, it's not like you can say, oh, I'm not playing this game because of the weather. I'm going to go elsewhere. Like, we're forced to pick players from this game. So, how can you really apply? Yes, I think you potentially downgrade the kickers a little bit. Like, that's one thing I'll probably do. Still going to play the kickers. You almost have to on the slate, I think. We'll talk about it. But, yeah, it's not ideal situation in terms of weather. The total has come down a little bit. It's sitting at it's like 40. What is it? 44 and a half.
44 and a half, 45. Yeah.
There's not many times this season where a Josh Allen game is going to be under 45 points as the total. But like, what do we do? Like, it's not like you're going to fade Josh Allen because there's rain in the forecast and it's supposed to be bad weather. It's not like you're going to fade Stephon Diggs because of that. Like, so, I mean, for me, there's not much you can really do, especially with this sort of game where, like, who the main pieces are. Both teams are going to use multiple running backs. It's not like it's okay, they're going to hand it off to Derrick Henry 30 times. That's just not an option. They're all going to use multiple running backs. I guess for me, the only thing is just maybe a slight downgrade to kickers. Like, I'll play kickers a lot. Like, you guys have seen my builds. You've seen my teams. If I like a kicker, I'll play him over 50% in my 150. Like that's probably just not going to happen tonight. I typically don't like defenses. I think the one thing you do see, and yeah, someone mentioned it in chat, and I think you guys brought it up too, is there an overreaction to defenses after what we saw last night, like with the Cowboys just going off, and it created an early night for myself, which I was thankful for because I could use the extra rest that I got last night, so it worked out quite well not having to watch that. If the defense goes off, I'm not winning Showdown, and I'm fine with that. Like I'm totally fine with that. The team that won, like I'm never getting there, like never, ever, ever, ever getting there. So congratulations to the guy that won last night. Was not going to be my sort of slate, but I just don't know what you do tonight to take the weather into account. So for me, slight downgrade to kickers. Definitely curious to see what you guys have to say about it.
I was just laughing. I'll let Title hop in and say his piece, but I was laughing because knowing what you play or something similar is like, yeah, basically what he says. I just paid couple grand or something to get an early bedtime, so it was awesome.
No joke. Yeah, I mean,
but early
the sleep's valuable. My kids are back to school. My daughter starts her bus picks up at 7 a.m. Eastern all throughout the week. So, like, man, if I can get a couple extra hours, like, I'm good with that, and it definitely was worth the thousands of dollars that I lost.
Yeah, there you go. Title, give us your thoughts, man. Weather and then anything else you want to tie to it, because after that we're going to get right into the captain spot. And we're going to apply some of these thoughts anyway to that, just based on everything else. So go ahead.
Yeah. So the first thing I do, I look at Kevin Roth, one of the best weathermen in the industry. He has it tagged as orange, but this first couple sentences: heavy rain and storms pre-game, likely continuing to the early portions of the game, will dry out later, but the field could be a mess. But if that's the case, like if people are going to overreact and it seems like people aren't going to go kickers as much, I would go the opposite way. So I'm pretty much using this weather and just going, if people are scared of anything, I'll take the ownership discount and go more overweight that way. And that's just because at the end of the day, like you talked about it yesterday, Tambo, like we've seen, I saw your message in Discord, like snowy games, 30-mile-an-hour winds that have put up like 60 points combined or 50 plus points combined. I think weather can be over, like people go there too much. They feed into it too much. Like it also affects defenses. If the field's really sloppy and all of that, try and tackle a guy running at you and make it cut and keep up with them. Like defenders can fall on all that if the field's sloppy. So if there's not going to be rain throughout the whole game, which as of now, it doesn't sound like he's going to say that, I'm not really going to change anything. If it was pouring all game, of course, I would limit the Hardmans. I would like Randall Cobb more because he's more of a short kind of guy and Hardman's more deep throws. That would affect the deep ball more and stuff. But as of now, I am not changing anything or excluding people or anything because of the weather today. So that's how I see it. If we get news change, it's going to be raining all day. We'll be in the Discord and we'll update, but no changes really for me.
Yeah. And the other thing if you don't know what to do in these situations, one good resource is just to look at the line movement. It hasn't moved because sharp bettors, they know this stuff. They're looking at the historical data. And a lot of times in the NFL, the only time you see the significant line movement is with the wind, when there's big time wind, like 30-mile-an-hour winds with big time gusts. Then you'll see the line start to drop, or the total. You'll see the total start to drop. And in this game, I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to pull it up and find it, like what it opened up at. But I don't think it's moved a ton.
I did my update on the site this morning, just clearing out the sheets and getting everything ready for tonight, talking with Boomer on the projections and stuff. And it was at 44.5 when I updated my sheet.
Yeah. It opened at 47 to 48, I think.
Okay, so right? It has come down. It has come down a few. 2 to 3.
If I'm seeing it, yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
So that's some movement for sure. So but again,
we also got to remember these lines open like a month ago. Like there's a lot, like it's not just because of weather. Right. Like maybe they just thought.
Yeah, and again though, it's not a situation where you can say, all right, I'm not playing this game. I'm playing someone else tonight. I'm playing another game. Like that's not an option. Like we're stuck with this. We have to deal with it. And maybe people overreact and we get some ownership discounts and things along those lines.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And to Title's point, and just not just with how to attack the game, but also, like people talk about defense being more popular in captain because of last night. The best thing, why I love Showdown the most, especially Sunday night leading into Monday, because it's back-to-back, so I really like Monday Night Football slates for that reason, is the roster construction style. Like if a 5-1 crushes the night before, the next night all of a sudden people move in on 5-1. It's like, I saw it work last night. I'm going to do that. And then also to Title's point there, I thought was really good. The lines aren't based on the weather because it's actually like when the season started and the original ones come out, you get Aaron Rodgers versus Josh Allen, primetime, Monday Night Football, X, Y, and Z. But what happens now is the people that look, we saw it on Sunday. There's people checking out our show saying, what's this site? What's SHIPITNation.com? People have never heard about us yet because they go away, come back for football. By the way, if you want to sign up, SHIPITNation.com, go check it out. But what they see now is, oh, the lines dropped, the lines down, weather's going to be affecting everything. Like, this is an under game. And now people start jumping on that. And to Title's point, that's when you can jump on the other side. And I think that really sets you up for, keeping maybe some defenses and maybe some kickers out of the lineups and being able to get after more of a back and forth game style. And again, that's what I do on the site. So if you guys get my slate plan, someone asked, I think it was our girl Kim in Discord earlier, can you talk about how you find your game scripts for these slates? And some of them are based on those thoughts. It's more of a game theory setup where if people are thinking like this and the stuff I'm reading, listening to, and finding out says this thing, I'm looking to adapt the other way. And then what does that look like for me? So Hoop, we're going to talk captains in a second. I'll bring it over to you. Before I do want to note this? Shout out Colin says Showdown, Hoedown live, followed by Ship It Live. What a time to be alive. First of all, appreciate the wordplay. Love that. Just rolling it off the tongue. But then also, that is going to be the way it is on Mondays and Thursdays. Thursday Night Football, we're on the Mayo Media Network. Monday Night Football, we're here on our channel. When we get to 3,000 subscribers on this channel, just over 100 and change short, we're giving away a 6-month bundle. But our guy, DGen75, is always going to do it first and then lead right into us. We have a great partnership with him. He's awesome. So keep that in mind. Hoop, go to you, man. Let's talk about this. Let's get into these captains, starting with who I'm guessing you're going to be all in on. Not all in on, but very heavy on your guy Josh Allen tonight, because he just makes sense of pretty much any and every game script, and ball in hand is going to be plenty. So talk to me about Josh Allen and then some of the other captains in general.
Yeah, just real quick, Clyde, message. I'm so bad in like the Discord and stuff. I just realized I had a few messages from yesterday from the winner, so I'm going to get those all taken care of after the show today. So for some reason, the messages, not good with Discord. I didn't realize some of those messages didn't come right through. So get you guys all covered, the winners. In terms of captain for tonight, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's Josh Allen, and, what do you do there? I mean, he's going to be highly owned. He definitely has the highest upside on the slate. He has the highest floor on the slate. He has the highest everything on the slate, and you want exposure to him. But again, he's going to be the highest owned. It's looking, over 30% in the captain, which is a pretty high number. And what I always like to do is look at the slate. And is there going to be other high scoring guys? Are we going to see multiple ceiling type performances? And when I go through this slate, I just struggle to find other captains that have the high upside. To go cheap at captain tonight, I think you need to identify 3 to 4 guys that can get over 20 fantasy points easily tonight if you want to go cheap in the captain. Josh Allen, and you need a couple other guys I think that can get into the 20s, maybe even higher than that. Am I seeing that tonight? I just don't, man. I mean, you're looking at multiple running backs, like 3 running backs for both teams, okay? You have, wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, tough matchup tonight. I mean, the Jets secondary, very, very good. Gabe Davis, high upside guy, but, can he get there against the Jets? I don't know. Garrett Wilson obviously has upside. He can get the 10 catches, 100 yards, find the end zone. Is that enough to beat Josh Allen in the captain? I don't know. So those are the questions that I'm kind of going through and asking myself, and I just don't see the upside in the slate from many other guys. So those are just guys that, can they get to the 20-ish range? And then I want to look at it and say, hey, can any of these guys beat Josh Allen? Who can beat Josh Allen in the captain? If I don't think 4 guys can go into the 20s, I need to find a reason to not play him in the captain for a majority of my teams. And then who can beat him tonight? I don't think Aaron Rodgers can. I don't think Stephon Diggs can beat him because of that matchup. Garrett Wilson, maybe. He did really well last year with a shitty quarterback. Now he has Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to him. Maybe it's Garrett Wilson. Maybe it is Gabe Davis. Maybe they focus on Diggs. Who's a good cornerback? I'm so bad with these guys. Who's a good quarterback? Sauce Gardner. Yeah, right. So maybe he's on Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis can get loose and have a big game, but he would have to beat Josh Allen in my eyes, just straight up fantasy point wise, to be the optimal play there. So I'm struggling to identify other captains, and I'm still working through what I'm going to do at the captain spot. Yes, Josh Allen's going to be a big part of what I do. I will be building my teams pretty early today. But, one thing that we always talk about here at Ship It Nation is getting our content up early so our members can digest it. And we've gotten really positive feedback in regards to that. People love the early content. with keeping in mind that changes can be made and those will be highlighted. We kind of highlight the changes in yellow so you know when changes are made. But we want to get our content up early, and I plan on doing that today. So you'll see exactly what I'm doing at the captain. If you are a member, if you're obviously not a member and want to sign up, get on over there. We got the 3-2-1 bundle that's going away today. But, I really have to, do some work and analyze this captain position. I think it's very important. Like the one thing that I think people overlook in Showdown is the importance of the captain position. A lot of people run their teams and say, hey, if I have, the optimizer is giving me 10 captains, I'm just going to roll with them. Like, I think you need to make some decisions at the captain spot on every single slate. Like, I just think you really need to analyze that, because to me, that's by far the most important what you do at captain. Like, just in general terms speaking. But I need to analyze this. Josh Allen is going to be obviously a big part of what I do in the captain. It's just a matter of how big. And then I just really need to figure out, like, can 4 guys get in the 20 range? Can anyone beat them? And I'm struggling to come up with the answers to those questions at this point.
Real quick, FanDuel MVP, just because instead of tying it all in the end, that's a bigger question, because Allen should be, 50 to 60%.
Yeah. Well, it's even more difficult on there to make that case. Like, you can start to make the case for some guys on DK because the full PPR, the bonuses, like, who can legitimately beat him on FanDuel tonight? And it's tough when you start asking that question.
Mm-hmm. All right, Title, I'll kick it over to you, man. Talk to us about it. You can continue on the Josh Allen case and then talk to us about how you see it otherwise. I got a few more thoughts, but I'll let you roll out first here.
No, I agree with Hoop. So we saw it last time on Thursday. Mahomes was by far the most popular. There's a little different slate. Salary didn't mean as much that one, but he was very chalky. And what, it was a 12-way split with 100,000 more people in that contest than this contest. And it was split 12 ways for over $100,000. So you can still eat chalk at the quarterback, mix in lower owned pieces in the flex. And right now, that is my lean, is just jamming a lot of Josh Allen. I'm not necessarily saying hit the lock button. FanDuel's more interesting. We talked about last Thursday, if I had to pick what to do with Mahomes, I would have just said I would have locked him in all 150. And I probably, if I had to pick either fade or lock Josh Allen on FanDuel this time in MVP, I think I'm leaning toward the lock-in as well on this route. Maybe weather comes into this play a little more, because even if the game's gross, if the field conditions are bad or something, you still get a running back in Josh Allen. You have all the goal line equity. Diggs, pretty tough matchup today. Gabe Davis, pretty tough matchup. Rodgers, like, no rushing upside. If you do play him at captain, I want to at least play 2 pass catchers with him. Garrett Wilson, Stephon Diggs looks like the other guys that can match him. I don't hate the Allen Lazard route at captain, or a James Cook's okay, but just a completely different. Josh Allen's price tag, 7.1K in the captain spot, and you go to Lazard, 9.6K. So it's just a whole different build you get on right away. And Lazard coming over from Rodgers with the Packers. He's going to be the number 2. Corey Davis retired. Should be on the field almost 100% of snaps. Little stuff like that. So Allen's definitely my favorite captain. Diggs is number 2, but I think Lazard would be 3, just in a whole different build pricing tier. And it gets you on something else that others aren't playing as much. So, but I'm going to have a ton of Josh Allen. Like the James Cook situation, I think he's fine. Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall, it's tough to click either of that name in there right now. It's tough to click a Hardman, a Cobb, a Hardy, Kincaid, and Knox. Like, there's really only so many ways you can go. For sure, Allen, Diggs. I got Lazard 3, which probably is a hot take. I'll be overweight there. If you want to go Wilson, James Cook, I think it's fine too with the upside, but it's hard for me to get away from Josh.
Yeah, and you guys talked a lot about it, so I won't spend a bunch on it, but I do want to say just a couple thoughts. Hoop said it's very important to figure out your captains for obvious reasons. That's what ends up winning the slate, and when people have 8 to 10 and all that. But what I will say is it's almost like 2 things. It reminds me a lot of PGA, and anyone who plays PGA DFS knows I do, so I'm going to relate it. I know it's not football, but just to say it quickly, like in golf, people think finding this diamond in the rough means they win the week. Oh, if I get this 6K golfer who goes 12 under this week, I win. No, it's not how it works. There's 5 other guys in your lineup. You still need to make it work. The other angle is like, oh, if I have this wide pool, well, if in PGA, if it's a week where I'm building for wave splits, and so some are AM, PM, some are PM, I know this isn't going to hit with everybody, but the idea is, oh, Tambo ran a pool of like 70 guys. He's just playing everybody. No, playing guys in this wave and guys in that wave. They're actually not, nothing's correlating. I'm running one set and another. And anyone who knows me and knows that's my slate plan, I do run sets. So even though my player pools and exposures will shake out differently, my captains are dictated by what the theory of the game is. Anybody last night who played some Dallas smash game theory lineups, that's how they got to Cowboys defense in the captain with 5 ones. It's like, okay, the whole field is on Daniel Jones or Barkley or both or some form of that. If it goes bad, what does that look like? Well, in those builds, in that set, whatever it may be, that would include spots where it's okay, the defense tees off on them. So I'm not saying what you have to go do today or how to build or adapt from yesterday or anything. I'm just explaining that not just about picks and plays, right? We're always talking about the process. And that's the idea where it's sometimes not I don't have this gut call. I don't know who's going to be the winning captain tonight. It's what I'm hoping happens based on how I'm shaking out the game. And a lot of how I shake out the games is sometimes 1 or 2 angles of, okay, maybe the one I heard today, and I like this one, is maybe the Jets are being hyped up by the Hard Knocks and stuff like this, what makes them look better. And, Aaron Rodgers of old, and he's got his passing weapons that he knows and trusts. And obviously now Garrett Wilson, who's incredible. All that stuff makes sense. But what if Buffalo just pounds them? Would that surprise anybody? Probably not. It shouldn't. Like, you don't just have to build it that way. And then the other angle is, what if it's the opposite? What if we just saw guys like Burrow come in rusty, some of these other teams yesterday come in pretty rusty, and you end up having a performance where Aaron Rodgers does have all those guys around him. The time in the dark box ends up working out for him, and he comes out stronger than ever, and he's just the great quarterback that we know and love, and he ends up having the big game. That's what's going to dictate things and cause for a guy like Josh Allen to come down some, because now options from the Jets are going to go in or things like that. So really just want to say, focus on that more, and you'll get stuff that comes from that as long as you're building towards those game scripts. Other guys up top, what if Diggs beats Gardner? It's tough. It's hard to imagine. But again, he's the guy where you could see it, because if he ends up having 2 touchdowns somehow, who knows what happens? It's just how it gets there. That's where it can become a thing. Garrett Wilson, likewise, on the other side. What if it is the Jets spot? Rodgers and Wilson then come into play. And then you have to remember, everybody I just mentioned there is not a running back. We can see it. What if the running backs come in and take over and the game belongs to them instead? So that's kind of how I'm shaking it out versus looking for it. The other thing I'll say, as we're about to hop into flex here, is we have some $200 options. We have some $2,400 options. We have some guys like that we're going to get to. That allows very easily for a lot of those big names. So in cash, and these guys are the cash players more than me, but I mean, if you're playing cash, you're going to be able to get to those lineups pretty easily, because you can fit 3 of them in between whoever you pick it out to be. But let's say Allen, Diggs, Wilson, Rodgers. I don't know if you can fit all 4 title. You let me know. But with the $200 Hardy play and things like that, maybe it is possible. So either way, thinking about that from a perspective, we just saw it yesterday. It's not Showdown, it's Classic Slate, but very easy to build with Likely and Mims, not talking about results, and be able to fit Tyreek, Jefferson, and then get your other guy, who am I forgetting? Chase in there. And again, not talking results, saying how you can get there. Tonight, very easy to get to these studs in there. But yesterday, we just reviewed, by the way, on this channel. You can go check it out after, the winning lineups and some of the theory around it. Myself, Nades, just going through and breaking it all down, the weekly review show, where, the winning lineups, if it was like, okay, everyone's playing Anthony Richardson in cash, I'll play him in tournaments. Because guess what? Not as many people are playing Ridley, and nobody is playing Pittman. That little stack, plug in all the rest of your value, your Tyreeks, your Eckler mini stacks, things like that, to make it work, and you had yourself 200 plus points. So Title, go back to you with all that said. Talk to me about some of these flex plays, and just talk to me about some of these game scripts and ideas you're seeing on how they'll play out.
Well, yeah, so there's a couple talking points. The first one is the wide receiver 3 on Buffalo is very interesting, because you keep mentioning Hardy, and some people are probably like, who is Hardy? Why are we talking about this guy? Well, Deontay Hardy, he is $200, and he is projected to be the number 3 receiver in Buffalo right now, at least to start. They have plenty of options behind, though, but in the preseason, he did get the most run with the starters in 3 wide receiver sets. So that's what we're predicting, and he's only $200. But there's still Shakir there, who's $2,400. He was on the team last year. Good pass catcher, definitely a better pass catcher than Hardy. There's also Sherfield there as well, who is also $200. He's more of a pass blocker, but I still expect him to rotate in 3 wide receiver sets. And then they have Dalton Kincaid as well, which is the tight end they drafted, but not your traditional tight end like a Dawson Knox and stuff. More of a slot, like a wide receiver, essentially, another big wide receiver out there, where I expect them to run a lot of 2 tight end sets with Kincaid as the 3rd wide receiver. And it'll be Gabe Davis, Diggs, Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and that'll be the 11 personnel, and Kincaid will fill in that role. So I'm saying all this because Hardy is by far going to be one of the most popular guys on the slate at $200. And there's Allen, Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Rodgers, like all of the big points are concentrated up top, a lot of salary. He just makes everything work. I'm not going to fade him by any means, but mixing in a Shakir, I think Gabe Davis goes overlooked in this Buffalo range. I think Kincaid is going to be pretty low owned at 5K as well. Knox is interesting. There's so many options out there. Fading the chalk, not fading, but going underweight. This is my approach right now. On by far the chalkiest guy, and maybe it is Kincaid, maybe it is Shakir, maybe it's any of those other guys. We literally saw it on Thursday. Sky Moore, he was everyone's darling. He did nothing. Tony didn't do anything either, but Rice got it at 3% ownership and stuff like that. So my approach right now, underweight on Hardy is going to get all the ownership, mainly for the price tag. I do like Kincaid a lot. Unknowns with him. I like his upside. He's been highly touted. Pretty good ADP in best ball too, which has some correlation to results early in the year. So Kincaid, one of my favorites. Underweight on Hardy. I do like Gabe Davis too. It's a pretty tough matchup, but that 7.2K price tag right in the dead zone. That's hard for people to click on as well, especially not a great projection from him. I think he comes in really overlooked as well. So if I am eating Josh Allen chalk at captain, which is my plan on a lot of teams, I need to get different in some of these flex spots, fading a Hardy, going a Gabe Davis, Kincaid, mixing in a defense. I'll be looking to get a little different in the flex spot.
Yeah, and Hoop, I'll come to you in a second, but real quick, I just want to talk about this too, because one thing our show I love does differently, I think, than most is, focus on process and ideas and theories more than just the picks. Again, the picks become a result of the conversation. And one thing that you just hit on that I want to bring up too is everyone talking already about the Dallas D last night and, falling into the captain. That's one thing. That's the obvious one that I think other shows will hit on. But I think it goes a little deeper. People played on Thursday night, probably remember Laporta. And they say, oh, yeah, let's see this again, Laporta or Gibbs or those type of situations where now tonight with Kincaid, I'm not saying he's coming in low owned because the sharper people around the industry and stuff will catch on to what Title just said this is not the same thing. He's not even a traditional tight end. It's how they use him is totally different. And they want to showcase him and use him and show things off there. I don't know if it'll happen tonight. I'm just saying the example where sometimes that ownership can come in check. And Alex, you're this guy, my guy, man, watch too many shows. It's crazy that comes up right at the same time. I'm about to go into this point is that because he is not the traditional tight end, I think there's people out there that will actually separate these guys in their lineups when really Kincaid can be thought of as another wide receiver for them. And then you can have Knox in there as the goal line catching a touchdown even. And that's a good connection. Josh Allen just doesn't forget about that. And you could see that where both of these come through and you got the Dalton and Dawson conversation going on with Josh Allen. So I love that you just brought that up. I wanted to bring that up where, again, from the Laporta stuff the other night, people think that. People then separate these two in a build, and I definitely think you could do that. I also always love me some Tupac, old school, but Shakir over Shakir. But Shakir, I'm going to be in on him at 2,400. I like that he's just, again, you see the $200. Most of those lineups are capping out with those big dudes that we already talked about to make it work. You could either go to your lineups with Shakir and come down to Hardy and just leave that money on the table, maybe get a little different that way if you can find lineups like that you like that still fit the rest of your build and what you're thinking for the game script, or you could try and find those lineups that come up from him and just go to him to be a little bit different because Hardy is going to be popular at $200. He does not need to do very much tonight. Hoop, I'll come to you. Talk to us a little bit about these flex plays and these options.
Yeah, it seems like we've kind of been focusing in on the pass catcher, so I want to hit on that. Just talk pass catchers essentially here, and yes, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson. To me, this is a floor type of slate. Like I'm looking for floor guys. Like can these guys get me 15, 16, 17 fantasy points? I just don't think. Could be wrong, but I just don't think we're going to see a ton of ceiling performances tonight. I'm looking for floors on a lot of guys. Diggs, Garrett Wilson, totally fine. Gabe Davis, $7,200. He has big time upside. We've seen it multiple times. He has, the 2 touchdown upside. If you're playing Josh Allen and the captain, like you're going to want some Gabe Davis. I like the Allen Lazard call. Like we know Allen Lazard actually has a pretty good price tag. Like a lot of guys I think are overpriced on this slate, but the 6,400 for Allen Lazard, I think is relatively fair. I mean, there's a reason that he's here. I mean, Aaron Rodgers wants him here. Going to give him some targets. So then I think once you get rid of all these stable type plays, Diggs, Wilson, Gabe Davis, Allen Lazard, you come down to like the question marks of the slate. And, Hardy's an interesting one because, $200, he's going to be the most popular, like super cheap type play, and rightfully so. But like you guys said, these aren't slam dunk plays. Like these are not slam dunk plays. We've already seen it on the Showdown slate so far. Like these cheap guys that were assuming a certain role doesn't always turn out to be that way. Struggle with the ownership though. I don't know where he's going to be. I mean, different places have him in different spots. I will obviously have this guy. $200 does a lot for your lineups. Like you play a $200 guy, you're looking at getting, 4 high floor plays in there with him. So I will definitely play him, but I also want exposure to other guys as well. On the Buffalo side, I like those calls. Trent Sherfield, Shakir, like those guys, they're going to get some reps on the field, just no matter what they do with them. So, and one other thing with Hardy as well, it's like I think the dollar amount contest that you're in will determine how much ownership. The higher the dollar amount, the more ownership a guy like Hardy's going to get. The lower the dollar amount, the less ownership a guy like Hardy's going to get. If you're playing the nosebleeds, $3,000 entry contest or the $1,500 entry contest, Hardy's ownership is going to be much higher than in the what's the Millie Makers at $20? Yeah, 15, much higher than in the 15 tonight. So that's also something to take note of if you are playing in the higher stake stuff. You got a guy like Mecole Hardman, boomer bust touchdown type guy. He could certainly be on the winner. I actually kind of like him a little bit with Aaron Rodgers here tonight. So he is a 3K flat, right around the kicker price tag. Has some big time upside. So some of these, Stephon Diggs, you're paying a premium 10-6, Garrett Wilson 10-4, even Gabe Davis at 7-2. Those are some big boy price tags. But man, most of these wide receivers I want exposure to tonight. To be honest with you, I think they're fair price tags with some upside when you get cheaper. We'll talk about running backs in a minute, and that's where I really struggle. I think I'll be making some big potential fades at the running back position tonight.
Yeah, one note, and I'll come to you in a second, title, is that the Cobb ownership looks like it's boosted. Maybe it's not going to actually be that high, but one thing that does look like it is Hardman, similar price points. Actually, put it this way, better way to say, any Cobb lineup can be a Hardman lineup, right? It's $400 less. Or I know some people have both, I'm sure, and that seems crazy. But if you did, my point would be anyone can be swapped down. And the thing is, like, man, we've been waiting for Hardman to show up for years. What would this be the one title where he just shows up on this slate and comes out? Talk to me about Hardman a little bit, and then take us into these running backs, because I know you have been in the best ball streets all summer long. You get all those little tidbits and things that you hear throughout that season while you're building up. Talk to me about the running backs on both sides, besides what everybody wants to talk about, the double cook narrative, parents at the game, potentially rocking jerseys. We'll see what it's going to be like picking sides, but talk to me about Mecole Hardman, and then talk to me about these running backs.
Yeah, so the Hardman's interesting because him and Cobb, they're going to be fighting for 3 receiver sets, the third guy. It's going to be Wilson. It's going to be Lazard. Cobb looks to be, I think right now Cobb's going to be higher owned, and that's because Cobb is probably he looks to be the starter right now. I assume he's going to take the first snap in 11 personnel. He's probably going to outsnap Hardman. Rodgers absolutely loves Randall Cobb, him, Mercedes Lewis, been his boyfriend for years now. That's the only reason Cobb's in here, but with Corey Davis,
man, Cobb got pictures.
Yeah, he's got
something, dude. He's got it all. Definitely got something.
But without Corey Davis here, and Rodgers trusts Cobb, and the worse the weather is too, Hardman's more of the deep threat, and he's just more of an unknown. He can catch that one ball for 70 yards, and he's probably going to be optimal right there. He has that upside. So if Cobb's 2 times higher owned, give me Hardman in that for sure. Cobb doesn't necessarily have that ceiling, it feels like, but he can catch 5 balls for 50 yards and 10 points right there. Could be enough as well. So yeah, if Cobb's going to be double the ownership, which is kind of what I'm seeing right now, I prefer just going to the Hardman route. I expect Cobb to play more snaps, but the upside for sure is on the Hardman side. And again, we're just guessing. What if it is Hardman playing 70% of snaps and it's Cobb playing 30? We really don't know at the end of the day. So give me the ownership discount when it comes to those two. And yeah, talking about the running back position. So I'll start on the Buffalo side. I'm going to really be curious about inactives today because it's definitely going to be James Cook and Damian Harris, but they also have Latavius Murray. And I'm not sure what they're going to do. I would not be surprised if Latavius Murray was a scratch. They only went in with 2 guys because they've been hyping up James Cook all year, saying he's the 3-down back. But once they get to the goal line, and we saw in the preseason, Damian Harris got all the goal line work. So it's interesting. Where would Latavius Murray's role even come in? Maybe an injury they have him in the third spot, but I don't expect, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if he was inactive. And if he's inactive, you got to bump up Cook and Harris a little bit, just another body they don't have. I really like James Cook. I think he has as much upside pretty much as anyone as a pivot, but the goal line work, if they get to the red zone and they're inside the 10, I think it is Damian Harris's opportunity. So that means you need Cook to catch some more passes. Allen doesn't love dumping it to the running backs. You need some big plays. They're fine. The other side is interesting, though. Dalvin and Breece Hall. So because Breece Hall is coming off his ACL last year, Dalvin had a banged-up shoulder in the offseason. Looks like Dalvin's 100%. People are saying, coaches are saying, Breece, they want to work him back into it. So I'm expecting Dalvin to out-touch Breece, to out-snap Breece. I think ownership does follow that as well. So Breece, an absolute one-play hit. He can go 70 yards, home run guy. Break the slate at very low ownership. So if you want to get different and overspend for what looks to be the opportunity on Breece Hall, you can do that. You want $1 million by yourself. That is a way to do it. Play a lower owned Breece Hall. But in a vacuum, man, it feels like Dalvin's the way better play. And they're both pretty expensive, where I think they both come in relatively low-ish owned for the names that you're expecting. So I prefer Dalvin for sure. I still don't love it. I like Garrett Wilson more. I like Lazard more. I like taking a shot in the passing game more, just because I think they do eat into each other. I do like the Buffalo side a lot more than the Jets side, though, with Harris and Cook at their prices, if I'm picking one side running back. But monitor Latavius Murray and inactives.
I love that you brought that up, and I'll come to you in a sec, Hoop. Jordan knows. I actually wasn't, though. When Jordan said this, I wasn't. Now I was. Because what happens, title says good things. I get ideas. The chat fires stuff in there where I'm thinking, like, this made me think of something right away. Does Harris bowl his way in? Remember I mentioned the Laporta thing earlier? This on that side for Buffalo with James Cook and Damian Harris reminds me of like Gibbs and David Montgomery the other night. Again, people remember this stuff. They only came back on Thursday to start playing DFS again. They haven't been into it all year or anything like that. So that kind of sticks in their head. I think that's one thing that sticks out. We the people, don't forget, we're talking about these Cooks brothers, and he's saying that too. But if you want to leave that narrative, what about Diggs trying to outdo his brother from last night against another top defender, which makes his brother look good too, because it's Gardner versus his brother, Diggs, saying, not only am I having a good game, I'm making my brother look better too. So maybe the Diggs narrative is something that you should look at there. But I like everything you brought up. I think the last thing I'll say before I go to Hoop is like Breece Hall, you are definitely paying up for probability. It doesn't sound like, I guess the thing is with him is more about the carries and stuff people are worried about, or what his chances are going to be. But kind of like you said about that was what I was trying to tie 2 points together. The Hardman point you brought up, Cobb doesn't need a ceiling. It's a showdown slate. But if like, who's the guy that's going to get the old school Jordy Nelson flea flicker type thing where he just flicks it out there to him on a free play? That would be like a Hardman more than anything, where it's like, oh, Hardman just broke the slate, done. And everyone else has all these other dudes that are waiting on $200 guys or $2,400 Shakirs or whatever else it might be. That reminds me with the Breece Hall thing. And guess what? Cook right below him on his own team with much more ownership. And then another guy right below him is on the other side at 8,000 is James Cook right there, getting much more ownership on the other side. So Breece Hall just cannot be getting ownership here. I understand why, but I'm saying if you can find a lineup you like with that there, make sure it tells the right story. But I definitely wouldn't hate that from that perspective. Go ahead, Hoop. Talk to us about these running backs from your perspective.
Yeah, I just struggle here, man. I mean, and mostly it's like the price tag stuff. Like these guys are priced like they're premier, 3-down running backs this season. I just don't see that. $8K for James Cook. Like, yeah, they can say whatever they want about, 3-down back and all that. But man, we saw it with Gibbs the other day, like he barely freaking played. I don't believe anything these teams say, especially with the running backs. Like they just want these committees, and it makes sense, honestly. Like, why would you risk it all? Game one of the regular season, $8K, he's got to do something big. Like he's got to do something. It's not like a 5K or 6K guy. If he gets me 12, 13, you're cool with that. Like I'm looking at these guys, Cook, both Cooks, James Cook, Delvin Cook, Breece Hall, 8K, 7,800, 8,200. And man, like that, you got to do something at that price tag. You got to do something substantial. Even if they find the end zone, I don't think any of these guys are locked to be in the optimal. So I really struggle. Again, I'm going to be building my teams after the show. Content will be going up as well, along with those teams. I just don't really know how much exposure I'm going to be getting to these running backs. Like, Gabe Davis is 7,200. He's cheaper than these running backs. I know price salaries don't mean a ton in Showdown, but I prefer Gabe Davis straight up over all these running backs. I prefer Allen Lazard straight up over all three of those running backs I just mentioned. So I see both teams using all three of their running backs tonight. Not good, especially when you're paying relatively big price tags. You got to make sacrifices to your lineups to get in James Cook, Delvin Cook, Breece Hall. I just don't know if they're worth it tonight. Again, we'll see when I build my teams. All content I will be going up to follow. Damian Harris, now we're talking at 5,400. Like, if he somehow gets a goal line carry and scores a touchdown at 5,400, that's good enough. Like, we're good to go. Latavius Murray, we need to, make sure that he is in and act. I assume that he will be. Like, I don't see any reason for him not to be in.
So let's say if he's not, would you bump James Cook and then be like, how is like? Well, there's only so many options because I don't think
at that point, you'd have to reconsider. I mean, it would be a bump for a guy like James Cook. He would be the one that I prefer out of those three running backs that's priced up. So it is definitely something to monitor. Latavius Murray doesn't have a massive projection by any means, but if you can take 5 Latavius Murray touches and give them to James Cook, that's going to boost him up a little bit. So it certainly is something to monitor. But I do think at the end of the day, Murray is in there, especially, week 1 of the regular season. They're going to want 3 guys. You never know what could happen. And then Michael Carter's cheap, 2K, see how much I get of him, but just not thrilled with this running back position, mostly due to the price tags. These guys, they're overpriced. I mean, they're simply overpriced. I prefer the pass catchers over these guys, basically straight up that I talked about, Gabe Davis and Allen Lazard. And it's looking like these running backs are going to get ownership too. So I might, this could be a slate for me where I really, make some big moves in terms of ownership and my player pool.
Yeah, I don't have more to add. In title in a minute, I'll come to you on like just rounding out the kickers, D's. We'll look at some of this stuff in Run the Sims when we go there for the Sims segment at the end. But one thing I'll just say, Hoop, that just ties directly. It's not saying you're wrong. It's nothing against that. It's just saying it's what I just said, though. It's where your bills should tell the story. Because on paper, what you just said is correct. It looks crazy at these prices, this ownership, all of this stuff. But this is what Run the Sims is great for. If the weather is crazier than we thought, if these two teams want to keep the other quarterbacks off the field, like our guy Chris Carter said, they're not paying these quarterbacks that much to trust running backs. That's not true. They're paying to win games and have these guys in the situations they need it for. You never know how that's going to go. There was tons of quarterbacks yesterday, big names that didn't do very much. And look, they just paid Lamar. Here's a great example. My team right here. They paid Lamar heaps. He waited for Jalen Hurts to sign and said, give me $5 million more or something and I'll take it, or whatever it was. My point is, he got nothing. They trusted J.K. Dobbins till he tore his Achilles. They then trusted Justice Hill. It does nothing to do with that. They're in there to win games. And if there is weather and things like this happen, again, I'm not saying these are better plays. I'm saying in that game script, though, is where you should be comfortable with those coming in. To Hoop's point, maybe he builds a main lineup or something that says, I'm out on these running backs. I see it this way. And he builds a lineup with no running backs, which will be unique when you see that at least Cook and certain other guys are getting pieces where people are trying to pick one. He just says, I'm picking none, and goes that way. So it's all what your build should tell the story. But to say it out loud, like, again, these running backs can show up in those types of builds. It is week 1, as our guy Neighbor said. Go ahead there.
Yeah, that the Damian Harris stuff, that was not my point at all. Like, I don't think Damian Harris is going to be the guy that gets the goal line carries in key positions for the Bills. It's Josh Allen, number 1, obviously. But I'm saying in terms of the running backs at 5.4K, and this could even be in a blowout scenario if the game's out of hand and they get down there, they hand it off to him at 5.4K. If he does find the end zone, which you have to, that's how you have to think about this stuff. If he does find the end zone at 5.4K, he's probably on the optimal. That's the only point I was making in terms of Damian Harris. I do not think like he's going to be their primary guy at the goal line. He could be, honestly, could be, but it's always, but it's going to be Josh Allen 1 for sure. But and then it could be Damian Harris, but not, that's not what I was,
I mean, anytime, like if you're playing JK with Lamar, you're playing Gainwell with Hurts, like there's certain quarterbacks that always are another running back in the red zone. But all I'm saying is if Damian Harris, I think Damian Harris will be on the field next to Josh Allen instead of James Cook. And then, you just hope they hand it off to him instead of pulling it. But yeah.
And to pull it back up, that was the point I was just making, Title. Like literally, it was J.K. Dobbins and 2 times Justice Hill. If yesterday's game was a showdown slate tonight instead of yesterday, Lamar would have got pumped on the slate. Would not be needing him in the captain. He would have got absolutely crushed. And all these same arguments would make sense. Now, would I have had, if yesterday's slate was today's game, how much Lamar would I have had? Plenty. Against Houston with that spread, I would have been heavy on him. But I'm saying there would have been builds where I said, if this, then that. And that's what leads to it. And that's how it happens. What is more likely to happen? Not that, to Hoop's point. That's not what he's saying. But what the point is can it happen? People are worried about, but they paid him this much, or, but that's what they do in the red zone or end zone. That's not, it's just, you don't know what they do. Nobody does. Your builds should tell the story of what could happen. If you think it's Josh Allen running it in 3 times, then get it going. Then he should be up there for you. And it should be a question of how your builds look. That's what we're trying to say, not argue against it. Just look for reasons and why. And that is, to me, the most relative and relative answer from yesterday of if we played the same slate with Lamar, Justice Hill, and some people say, Justice Hill was in because of the J.K. Dobbins injury. Fine. Then give 3 touchdowns to J.K. Dobbins. He breaks the slate on Showdown. If that's the case, give him only 2, whatever it might be. That's really what it comes down to for me and how we're building it out. Title, anything else but defense, kickers. We do have a sim segment coming up, so we can round this thing out. Defense, kickers, and any other punts. I know we talked about Hardy a bunch, but just anything else you want to talk about on the slate before we go to that?
Yeah, the defense kickers, again, I'm going to be monitoring weather, of course. It's we'll be in Discord. It's something to do today. Like if we see kickers and kickers ownership come down, but again, Roth is right, let's say, and he thinks like pregame it's going to be bad, but the longer the game goes, it'll just maybe the field. Then I want to get overweight on kickers. Like if it was a normal weather game right now, I would love kickers in this spot. I think Rodgers moves the ball. I think Josh Allen moves the ball. You hope it's 2 solid defenses. You hope they stall out. 45 totals, fine. Like I think there's plenty of opportunities for kickers. That's assuming the weather is okay for that. As far as the defenses, again, just say the weather's awful and defenses get steamed a ton. I would probably go the opposite approach and just hope defenses don't get there, though. It's a lower scoring game. Just they run the ball a ton maybe, and there's just not opportunity for a bunch of points. But I'm pretty much going to play the ownership game and just defense's kicker. They're always some 20-ish or lower owned, or 20% or lower owned. I prefer the kickers right now to the defenses. Part of that is because I think the ownership, the weather, kickers went down a little bit. Defenses went up a little bit, but monitor the weather. It's no strong takes here. And as far as other punts besides Hardy, CJ Uzomah, like if you want to talk about another tight end, they got Conklin at 4,800 and CJ Uzomah at 800. That 4K difference, I think the Jets do run some 2 tight end sets because their third receiver with Cobb and with Hardman. It's not just going to be just 11 personnel, plenty of 2 receivers or 2 tight end sets with running backs, Brees and Dalvin there pounding the ball, play action, stuff like that. We saw Rodgers throw the ball to Mercedes Lewis and guys like that who have no catching ability or athleticism in the goal line. So that could easily be a CJ Uzomah. He outscores Hardy at 1/18 of the ownership. I mean, I'll be mixing and stuff like that. That's why I'm eating some Josh Allen chalk, but don't play all the chalk.
Get different with it too. That's a good point. If you're playing Josh Allen heavy, the leverage is to go way over like that, like we said in captain or something like that, and then you can get all these types of combinations. Bring up a couple comments here before we go to Hoop for final thoughts. Then we'll do the sim segment at the end. But just to bring it up, sometimes that's the case too, right? This is the thing. Again, this slate makes it tough. I think Hoop's points that he made at the very top of the show make it tough it's just so hard to find other captains the way things spread out. But this is a good point to bring up there. And then Hoop, did you see it? Week 2 instead of week 4 this year, another Millie takedown. That was the week 4 last year was Seattle, Detroit, where Hoop won the Millie Maker over on DraftKings. But any final thoughts from you on this stuff, Hoop? Anything else you want to talk about? Kickers, D's, punts, things that you see from a slate from a whole, and then I'll bring up. I've got it up on the screen anyway. We'll run a couple sims out.
Yeah, I'll definitely take the run back of the Millie, like no doubt about it. The situation in that game is going to be quite a bit different than last year. But man, if I could find a way. I have to have at least a few overstacks in that game. Like I am going to force that in, like no doubt about it. That would be just epic. Just the same game, just overstack, ship it back-to-back years. I'll have some teams like that. Hopefully they get to the top. Hopefully
imagine the same lineup fits.
Oh no!
I forget who's missing.
TJ Hawkinson is no longer part of that game.
That's true. Yeah.
Who else was
it's
in
duped
there?
10 times. Everyone goes back and just copies Hoop's lineup.
Yeah,
I'll take a 120K or whatever it works out to.
Fair enough.
Yes. Yeah. You used to chop it all up. Yeah. In terms of the rest of these guys, these tight ends look really nice to me. I mean, very, very nice. The price tags look really nice. Conklin and Uzoma, 48 for Conklin, 8 for Uzoma. I think great plays. Knox and Kincaid we talked about. A lot of people overset rules, and you guys both kind of talked about it earlier, and they'll say, I only want one tight end from the same team. I think that's a massive mistake tonight. Let's say it is hard for these wide receivers to get traction, and they're not able to make their cuts, and Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs are kind of neutralized for that reason, and these short passes become very popular. It's going to be Knox and it's going to be Kincaid. So I like both those guys. Kickers, I'm always going to play kickers. I said, if it's looking wet and super windy, maybe a slight downgrade. Looking like I pulled it up again. Looks like most of this rain is before the game. I'm always going to have kickers. And then defense, again, I do the same thing. It's kind of boring, but I put in a moderate projection. If they hit my teams, they hit my teams. If they don't, they don't. More times than not, I'm underweight on defenses. So game like last night, I knew very early on, laptop closed, hit the sheets, we're good to go for the evening. So if that happens again tonight, it's going to be the same thing. Laptop down, hitting the sheets, getting some extra sleep. It's a very simple formula for me when it comes to the defenses. So that's where I'm at with the rest of these guys.
All right, bring it up quick before we get to it. The Sims segment sponsored this show, as always, sponsored by Run the Sims. If you want to ship it with Run the Sims, you can go to shipitnation.com/RTS. Get over there, or you can just go to the site, use promo code SHIPIT, get 10% off any plan that you choose. To be honest, not too many great scores thrown in there. So real quick, I'm going to throw this one up first. This was the only one I was kind of half interested in, is Buffalo 14. And someone said the Jets sneak out the win, whether it's the weather, the first game of the season, the back and forth.
You're trying to put these defenses right in my face after I just shit on them, aren't you?
We'll see. That's the great thing. Like when you check it out, you could say what'll happen with the defenses and whatnot, but they don't project for that, I don't think. So we'll just see how it shakes out. But I love what you said. Well, this is running about tight ends. A position so nice, you play it twice. You get Dalton and Dawson in there, or you go the other side, Conklin, Uzoma. That could be something there. But just so people know, I didn't put any other settings on this. I am going to show that in a second, though, because if people ask me how I use this and to look at it, obviously you want to shake it up a little bit more. But in just the case of saying this, you're saying, look, it's a lower scoring game. It's still pretty tight. It comes down to the final play, maybe a winning field goal. That type of thing is how you're seeing this shake out. So if you look at this, what it's saying is this. Josh Allen, at his price, has owned this in the flex. He's owned this in the captain. Total ownership is just math. But what it's saying is in this game script that we just built out, he shows up around 53.5% in the flex, which is saying he's not as good of a flex play in this game script as what he would be, but he still is. He's still the best flex play of anybody. So that's where you have to understand the difference. In the captain rate, it's saying he's about even. So someone may say, okay, I'm fine now. Once I see this, and I think this is my script, I'm okay taking 50 builds like this where I basically just have him around that, or you say because he's the highest, I'm going to get a little overweight, but we're not seeing much there. But go down now to a guy like Lazard. It's saying he's going to be 2% in the captain. They're seeing him in this script as the winning captain almost 10% of the time. So now you're seeing that there's captain leverage on him. In the flex, 21%. Almost 29% in the flex. He's showing up more often. They're saying if that game goes like this over all these simulations, and you can see it here, the inputs we just did, 10,000 simulations to get to these results, this is where you start to see it. But to Hoop's point, the Jets D, just to throw it back, they're not actually seeing them in the captain a lot. They're seeing them more than what they would expect, and they don't put anything less than 1, so it just shows 1 or nothing. They're going to be owned in the captain after last night, maybe 1%, but just to show it, it's saying that they weren't showing up a lot until they were. And in this game script where Buffalo only puts up 14 points, again, Hoop, you probably don't see this game script, so you're not going to see this stuff, but this is saying...
I didn't see it last night either.
That's exactly it, right? So let's go back to these inputs, and now let's go something like this. Let's go 24. What would we say the total was? 24 to 20. Let's do a couple more and then get out of here. But let's say Buffalo ends up running it 55% of the time, and the Jets end up running it 50%. Just making these up because I'm saying whether it's the field conditions, the weather, trying to keep the other quarterback off the field, but they're just that good that they still score enough. This will give you a different sim, and you'll know that it's going to go with what we put in. But this is the whole point of the I Know Better crew or I Know Ball crew, which is funny that both those acronyms are the same. But if you think you know it, that's what this tool is about. Anybody that goes back to my golf analogy or example of using tools in golf, or you're using golf examples, if you use Fantasy National or sites like that you can go on, that's allowing you to build out your own set. That's what this is doing. So now this says when Buffalo's putting up points, look at this, 40% of the time, and it's not even close. So Hoop, regardless of if the rushing shares are like that now, this makes your point of, look, if Buffalo puts up 25 points in this game and they're up there and it's not something insane happening on the other side, there's really no other captain choice here. It's saying that the way to go is to get in on Allen heavy, right?
It is wild to think, just to, I'm new to all this stuff too, and still learning, but just to think that just a modest game, if it hits what it's supposed, if what we think is going to happen happens, if what Vegas thinks is going to happen happens, 24, 20th, 20 type range, that you can still get leverage on a guy like Josh Allen and the captain is pretty wild to me. Pretty wild. And that's increasing the rush rate too. So it's very interesting. Some
of it is because you can give him, like, you could take his rush share down.
Correct.
Pool, which is why I like it. But again, I'm not the ultimate sim bro that goes in and uses this thing. The reason I use it though is because a lot of what I do is based around game theory and building in sets. So I'm looking at, okay, if the field thinks this, what about if it's this? And then I can start to see what makes sense inside that. That's why the tool can be a little bit more powerful. Even if you're not going to go out and simulate everything on your own and become a sim bro, you could still come in and use this and find out things. Like Hoop just said, I upped the rushing share. I know they give some of that to Allen, but it's still just saying that there's just nobody else close to him on this slate when you think they're doing that. If you continue to go down the list, just looking at the leverage side, it really spreads it out at this point. So then what you want to start looking at is flex rate comparisons, right? Okay, James Cook goes up quite a bit, but that's because we increased the rush rate. That makes sense. That makes a guy like Diggs come down. That makes Dalvin Cook. Here's the thing. Dalvin Cook doesn't actually go up as much as you think. He actually ends up going down in the simulation, which means over the 10,000, he probably balanced and teetered on the side of both. But what I'm saying is even increasing their rush share to 55%, it doesn't say let's go heavy on Dalvin Cook now because of it. It just keeps him around the same, which makes you start to think about some of the other options that might be down here, right? You go down and look.
This thing is just this is verifying all my beliefs going into tonight. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Follow the Hoopster.
You better hope it's 24-20.
Yeah.
One more. We'll bring up our guy Jeffrey. He had 20-12.
That'll probably be similar to the first one a little bit.
I'm going to pump this back. You can just refresh it at any time, like I said, so you can go to 20-12 for the Jets. And just to note quickly, like I said, you'll see in here, see the market shares? Like Dalvin Cook still had 45% of the market share. They went up even more. He didn't move. It's saying that there's still a possibility. That would make me think there's other options there, or like he's still good, but you don't need to be all in on him or something like that. And then 12, going to reset this quickly. This will be the last one we do, guys, and then we'll get out of here just so you guys can see it. Title, any thoughts while this is running, man? Just watching this stuff play out, or anything you're looking at when you see stuff like this?
No, yeah, I think you said it really well. Like, you build in sets, and if people don't know what that means, let's say Tambo has 150 teams and it's $15 today. He's not just going into the solver and clicking 150 teams, build me 150 and doing whatever and exporting it to a CSV. He's building 30 saying that the Jets are going to beat the Bills by 20. 20 saying this, that, whatever. He's building different sets of groups, 20 lineups here, 50 here, 40 or whatever it may be, telling a different story, different exposure. So just, I assume most people knew, but not everyone probably.
No, it's always good to point out, and that's exactly it. Like, usually it's a lot less, like it's a 100 and a 50 or a 75, but some cases, like you said, maybe it is 30 lineups like this for something wild, or 20 like this, and then the 120 gets separated out 40, 80, 120 for 4 things, 3 that I'm heavy on, 1 that I'm taking a shot on. But that's what I like to do, because honestly, I think Showdown is one spot that I explained this in our course that Hoop and I recorded. But like back in the day, you could play unlimited lineups or 500 lineups and stuff. We've been around for a while, but it's saying like sometimes you just don't have it. Like if I have the wrong game script and I have 1,000 lineups, it doesn't make any difference because I'm on the wrong shit. Or if a guy gets injured that I'm 100% on and it's wrong and he gets injured and now I'm dead, it doesn't matter how many lineups I had. So I look at it from that perspective, get more out of it. And so just to bring this one down 20-12, even then, Josh Allen, well, he's under on leverage. He's still by far the best captain on the slate, but then it brings
12
in
points. That's wild.
Yeah, he's still going to be the guy, but it's also the other thing I think is because this is a lower scoring game.
The salary and everything too, just the raw points Josh gives you, I assume.
That just turned into a raw points game.
Yeah.
Let me do one. I'm just going to, because Title brought that up. I'm actually interested. We know what it's going to be in general. I'm just curious.
I'd be shocked if this somehow had. Yeah.
So I just bumped the score for those that saw it. That was 20-12. So the reason Josh Allen, so people that don't get it, is like he's going to still pop because now it's saying there's not even very many points scored in the whole game. He's expected to have the majority of, or be involved in the majority of what everything is. But you go here in the blowout, it becomes Aaron Rodgers. Allen is still almost 18% in captain. That is, he's still very heavy in the flex. So it just goes to show both quarterbacks tonight, going to be tough to avoid that. What I think you might have to do is avoid the quadrant of those guys with the Hardy. And I say that as the most obvious statement in the world because that's just how it fits when you use Hardy. But what I mean is it's also this quadrant in as a whole. Like if you think, oh, I'm going to drop Wilson to Lazard and still play it and I'll be good. No, other people are doing that too. Even though you're leaving the money, still going to be a ton of dupes, even though you're Hardy, all that, because you're on the same stuff everybody else is. You're going to have to get different with roster construction tonight and not just with the plays that you play. Hoop, we're getting out of here, man. Any final marketing for the site? It's the last day of the sale that people can get in on the action with the Blast Off bundle. Last chance to get in on the 59 monthly. Take us out of here, man. What do you got?
Yeah, last day to get in. A ton of momentum, obviously, this weekend. A lot of big wins from our team and our members. Our guy Nev's $280,000. Congratulations to him. That's a massive win. Just absolutely love to see that. And like I said, the momentum's building within the community. This is the last day to get in at the discounted rate that Tambo just talked about. Take advantage of it. Join us. The rocket ship is going to continue to go up. Very excited about the product we have and going to improve, going to add on early content, pay less for content, play more contests is a motto that we've kind of adapted here. So, now's the time.
Yep. Title, final thoughts before I take us home?
I mean, everything you need. You need projections to win. We got them. You need ownership to win. We got them. You have 4 minutes. You want to see hoops on. Got core report there. You play cash. We got it. Discord. No better community. Knowledgeable members in there too. No tilt. I mean, there's no price in the industry that you're going to beat this. So some people, they don't want to pay. They don't have it. You just like watching for free on YouTube. As long as you hit that like button, always helps us out a ton. That's what I say. But for a lot of people, if you want that extra edge for a price that you cannot beat, I think Shipping Nation is the place for you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Thursday that we give away the 6-month bundle. We're going to probably hit it before with baseball shows and all that, but we'll come together, this same trio together on Thursday. Remember, this show is on the Mayo Media Network. So if we're not quite there, we're going to get that final push. We'll be giving away the 6-month bundle to the site just based on subscribers. It'll be a random lucky winner. But like Hoop said, final day to go and get it. We've had a lot of fun building this thing up. A lot of great support from the people out there. We truly appreciate it. Adam says, not a member, join now. NFL PGA content is amazing. I'm sure other sports are as well. That's what people, I know they're not forgetting. We have a lot of great members, but just saying it, like NBA hasn't even got here yet. We're loaded on NBA. NHL hasn't even got here yet. We have incredible projections and ways to adapt them and sheets and matchups and all the stuff that you guys can find. So there's going to be a lot of content that still hasn't even hit where your price doesn't change. And then just like we added MMA, we added best ball, we added education, all of that all just got included in the membership. So there's going to be a lot more still to come. That's going to do it for this show, guys. Hit that like on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. For Hoop, for Title, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.